Joining us this morning, once again, is our weekly segment with Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market Magazine. Good morning, afternoon, evening, Keith.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good to have you. We're all gearing up on, well, I say all, me, and not the guys, to go to Pebble Beach coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're really excited about that for our first time. And so we got a loan, a small, refinanced our house, got a little bit of a loan so we can do all the fun things that you can do out there.
You know, if you would fly commercial instead of taking your private jet, you'd save a lot of money.
Apparently, they say it's a little cheaper that way. So, but you have to stop in Chicago on the way, and that's never fun.
You can shop.
Yeah, you can shop. That's what my wife asked me the other day. She goes, "Is there any moment of the day that's not planned around cars?" I go, well, no, but here is a brand new American Express Platinum card. Have fun when we're there. So it's
the thing that which you'll learn in Carmel with that Platinum card is all she has to do is walk by the stores and there's a card reader and it'll automatically charge your card for whatever she happens to be looking at as she walks by the store.
I think that is so smart. That's such a good business move, right? So every week we have Keith on, for those of you who don't know, and we bring his weekly blog to life. And this week's blog is 54 going on 3. Now, what would that mean?
Well, one of my favorite cars is our 71 Jag V12 Coupe. It's got 30,000 miles on it now. And it's a tight car that's just a joy to drive. And we were thinking about that, talking about the difference between cars that once you take them apart and put them back together, it's often they're just not the same.
Right.
And this car has never been taken apart, ever. So what it means is if it's got 30,000 miles on it, that if you figure a car in 71 was averaging 10,000 miles a year, that means this is really a 3-year-old car.
Right. Yes, I see. Now I see the math. Now I understand. And it's noticeably better driving, right? I mean, it's like you just know that it drives better than a car that would normally be that old.
Well, the thing that we talked about is that when a car gets restored, it normally gets restored because it needs a restoration.
Right.
That means it's gotten into a kind of a poor state, and it's time to take it apart. I got a nice note from one of my subscribers saying that cars that have never been taken apart, all the suspension bits and things, they're all in what he calls their happy place.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to upset that happy place.
Yeah, no, and then it likes it. And so you have to be, I had one Alpha that I did a ground up on, and I had to put 5,000 miles on it before it started feeling like a car again.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that funny how it got into its groove, so to speak? And well, we always, caution people, look, if you buy a car that doesn't have a whole lot of miles on it since a complete restoration, you're going to need to drive it and sort it out. It's going to need some sorting between now and whenever. And when you buy a car that's original, there were some slight modifications you all did to the Jag, right? Some suspension pieces and things like that, but
it's just replacement, though. The rubber bushings in the front get oil soaked in those cars,
right?
And then back in period, they said, well, we'll fix that. We'll upgrade that with polyurethane bushings.
Right.
Well, those over time crack and get brittle and shatter.
Right.
So we've done a few maintenance things, and we've upgraded the ignition system, but all the paint, all the interior, all the surfaces in that car are completely original. I've never had a car like that before.
Right, right. Well, because most of our recollections of cars back in the day are much better than they actually are if you drive one today. So if you got in a 67 GTO today, you'd go, boy, this doesn't drive quite like I remember it drove back in 67.
Well, also, Stewart, it depends. Is it a good 67 GTO?
True.
Because, that part of the problem is we get these cars and they're like semi-worn out because nobody's gone through and dealt with the suspension bushings, the steering, got the brakes adjusted right. I mean, all these things that if they were your daily driver, you'd be taken care of.
Right, because we always tell people on any car, new, old, whatever, the minute something goes wrong with it, get it fixed. Do not let it lag, because if you let it lag, more stuff's going to pile up and it's going to be worse than better.
And each time you get in the car, you'll be irritated.
Right. Well, we bought a 68 Plymouth Fury Station Wagon that is really, really cool. And the seat is so worn out. Must have been a big guy that rode it. I can barely see over the dashboard. So it's not a lot of fun to drive in that condition. So it's one of those things that we're going to get that seat fixed so you've got that nice firm feeling when you're sitting behind the wheel and not feel like you're this.
One of the things I've written about is that the first thing you should do when you buy a car is have the driver's seat cushion restuffed.
It's a great, I never really thought about that until I bought this wagon and thought about how important that is. It's a very uncomfortable feeling to sit in a car like that and not feel like you're in control or in a firm environment.
Yeah. No, it'll make you feel like you're in a new car.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I never thought. So we'll definitely try that. So I'll add that to the list of things that I'm doing to this car that I thought I wouldn't have to do anything to.
What I tell people when they take a car that we call that fettling it, right? When you're trying to bring it back to life.
Right.
You drive the car, you make your list. You go back to the shop. You cross 3 things off the list. You drive the car again. You make the list. The list gets shorter and shorter, but it's not a one-time deal. It's a 4 or 5 or each time, because each time you cross something else, you notice something else.
Right. Or if you're really paying attention to your car, then you're driving it in a manner that you're going to notice things that are wrong with it. Listen, if you've got a car that is a manual transmission, you go through all the gears. Make sure you get all the way up to 5th or 6th or whatever it has in it. Make sure that you test all those, because sometimes you never get into 6th gear and then you find out too late that it doesn't work.
Well, since the Jag only has 3, I don't get into 6th very often.
Well, that's good to know. Not triple overdrive? There's not something like that, right? So
let me say, Stuart, that driving this car, because it is so good, it's like going back in time 50 years. Like I'm in 1971 in a 2-year-old car. It handles good. It's got lots of power. It makes good. 71 was a good year because they didn't have any smog on them, or noticeable smog. When you're behind the wheel of a classic car, you look at the gauges all spread out in front of you, the long hood of the car, and it's a time machine.
It absolutely is. And of course, your reference point in 73, when you drove a 2-year-old car, a 71, you didn't have, you didn't have a new car to compare it to. You didn't have a 2025 Escalade or Mercedes S-Class or whatever it is you happen to be driving. And it was all relative.
It was the one. I mean, this was Jaguar's supercar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can remember seeing Jaguars from 71 to 74 and thinking, wow. Even the XKEs of that era, even with those big, butt ugly, big rubber bumpers on the front fender, or front bumper, it didn't bother me for some reason. I don't know why.
You were just living through the era. It just was what it was.
Right. Well, and I always tell people that another good thing to look at when you buy a car, especially if you're buying a car at an auction, if the car is got a full tank of gas. Because if it's got a full tank of gas, then generally that's a person that has kept that car maintained, fluids properly changed, would never let it get beyond, below a half a tank at worst, and 3/4 of a tank more than likely. And it just tells you a lot about the ownership of the car and the type of person that owned it.
I agree with that. And also you look under the hood, you look to see how do the hose clamps and things like that look, because if they're wrong, then what else is wrong that you can't see?
Yeah, and that's the thing that, when people look at a car to purchase, they set a baseline of what they would pay for this car, and then what they're looking for is deductions. Okay, so I like this car. Well, it needs tires. Well, let's take off 800 probably one tire anymore. Let's take off X amount. The turn signal doesn't work. Let's take off something for that. And the thing that's interesting used to be that when you sold a classic car, nobody really cared if the blinkers worked. Nobody cared about the taillights. Nobody cared about the interior light or the clock. Now all that's become very important to people.
Well, you know what? The Bring a Trailer has what they call their partners.
Right.
The specialty dealers that they deal directly with.
Sure.
And I know some of those guys. And what they do, like when they take my car, the guys here, 911R, for instance, they fix everything that they want to fit. They don't ask me.
Right.
And it's $200 an hour.
Right.
but because they want the car to leave them blinkers working,
sure,
washer bag full, brake fluid changed. So they're setting a standard so that when you buy a car from them, in theory, they have gone through and done everything that needs to be done. And it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. And everything that needs to be done at that particular time and moment, because between the time that the hammer falls and you own it and you get the car, something else could have gone wrong.
something else will go wrong.
Yeah, well, let me rephrase that. Something will go wrong. There you go. Sorry.
Like I said to you, Stuart, we talked about last week that with the difference between driving an old car and a new car on these things, with an old car, it's going to screw you at some point.
It's going to leave you stranded. That's absolutely.
It's just waiting there thinking, okay, when shall the clutch go out? Let me think. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, let's get the brake pedal all the way to the floor. Oh, yeah, won't that be fun?
That's a good way to leave people on this note, Keith. I think that we had the perfect ending to another fantastic segment on the Classic Auto Mall show. Thank you so much for being on. Sorry we won't see you in Monterey, but we'll catch you next in 2 weeks from now. We won't have a show next week, so we'll catch you in 2 weeks here on the Classic Auto Mall show.
It's always great being here, Stuart. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Take care.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
we've been around almost 40 years. It's the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world.
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden. Available on classicautomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.